On this week's episode of That Sound Podcast, we are reviewing the album Number of the Beasts by none other than Iron Maiden.
What a band.
What a band.
First album I ever bought.
Was that your first?
That was me first.
Your first time
That was me
on
first
the record
time.
player?
Up on Collins's bus up to Dublin, and the first album I bought, I remember, I think I was with my mother or someone, and I came back out of HMV on Henry Street with Number of the Beast, and my mother was looking at me going, what in the name of God is this?
Barrel Boy.
I was no more than 9, 10. That was my old neighbour pointing me in the right direction. But what an album. Definitely one of the most recognised album covers we have here on our wall. If you don't know it and you're not listening to music, you need a good kicking.
Is it one of your favourite Maiden album covers?
Covers? That's a good question. There's a lot of good artwork with Iron Maiden. Even the singles. See the artwork for some of the singles.
Fun fact about this one.
Yes.
We'll mention that later on down the line.
But I mean, the artwork is iconic with Maiden. Eddie, you know, obviously, I don't want to say it too much because we are going to get to
we'll get into that in bits and pieces.
But I don't know what it was about Maiden. I think I said it before in the podcast. Hallowed Be Thy Name is probably one of my favourite Maiden songs.
Yes, which features on this album,
of course. What is your favourite Maiden song? Would it be on this album?
Favourite Maiden song? I was asking you, was it your favourite cover art?
Yeah.
But I think Power Slave or Seven Son of a Seventh Son would be likely my favourite cover art. I actually have another vinyl here. We must do it another time for the crack. But the From Fear to Eternity, and these are actually fairly nerdy, but the limited edition colour discs.
Oh shit!
So
give us a go.
Yeah, it's rather cool. Have a look at that. There's probably a couple of the best of 1990 to 2010. We must do that one another time for you guys. But I bought that on Tower Records on O'Connell Street.
Wow. Years
ago, I was with my mother and another massive Iron Maiden fan, good friend of mine, and my cousin Fionnán Casty.
Cool.
So we would have got into listening to Iron Maiden together when we were younger, 10, 11, 12. And
cool.
Funny that my father and his father, who are brothers, were also massive Iron Maiden fans in the 80s when they were coming up listening to a lot of the records. So there's some of the Iron Maiden records I have here, and that Number of the Beasts cover art that you guys see on the wall is actually the record that my dad would have bought.
What is that?
One? So Peace of Mind was mine. I bought that in a record shop in Ennis.
Okay.
But Iron Maiden, Number of the Beasts, Killers, and Iron Maiden itself.
Yeah, the self-titled one.
Yeah, and Somewhere Back in Time, which I have here, are all my father's.
Original press.
I'm not sure if it was original, but he bought them when they would have come out at the time. So must have been, 82. He would have been 14. So
Jesus.
Bought it around then. His older brother Pete would have been 15.
They were brilliant. They were so good.
They were just class.
When you think at that time, 82, like Kill 'Em All, and some of the Megadeth stuff. No, Megadeth wasn't coming out yet, so he was still
he was still in Metallica.
Who else was coming out in the early 80s?
Anthrax, Slayer, Metallica,
right, yeah.
You know, Judas Priest,
Motorhead,
Sabbath,
Dio.
Yeah,
some
Ronnie
good
James
stuff,
Dio.
wasn't there?
Saxon. A lot of that new wave of British
Saxon's
heavy
going
metal
a long time.
That Lars would have been interested in. Yeah, Ozzy was in Sabbath at the time. Tigers Pang Tang. Zeppelin was still together at that stage. I know it was more rock and roll, but
some time for music, wasn't it, when you think about it?
Fuck, imagine being alive then. Someone actually said to me the other day, it was very funny. My husband. My husband. My uncle is home from America, and he is home with his wife, and her mother's home on holiday with them, and she talked about seeing Miles Davis in Boston in 1972, and I had asked her, like, because I had forgotten, I just didn't know he died that young. I was like, was John Coltrane still playing with Miles' band? And she said, no, Coltrane died in 67.
Wow.
So if you're a fan of jazz at all, way off topic, but for like John Coltrane to have done all that he done and have died in 1967, like, what a time for jazz music and the evolution of music just in general within those years.
I've listened to a few very good podcasts about the evolution of music. Can't just think of the name of the podcast. It was brilliant.
Be great to cover years. We should pick a year once a month or every so often or every couple of months.
Have you ever heard that talk about how the power chords came about?
No.
So there was a story. Oh God, let me get this right before I say it.
Something to do
Sabbath.
with... Okay.
The guitarist from Sabbath.
But Tommy Iommi had the tips of his fingers cut off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's he started doing the power chords. So
He
less
worked in a
movement.
steel mill.
Yeah.
And then something fell on top of his fingers.
So he supposedly it was Blind Boy.
Okay.
The Blind Boy podcast.
Very good.
If you look it up, he talks about the evolution of music and he covers metal.
Cheers, Blind Boy.
He has a wealth of knowledge of all music.
Of everything.
Oh my God. You know, you talk to people, even my own friends, I'd be like, yeah, we'll check out Blind Boy's podcast. And they'd be like, no, he's an ego with a bag on his head. I'm like, he's not. He has, like, you know, anxiety and stuff. He doesn't want to be famous. That's the whole reason behind it. But anyway, long story short, he had the tips cut off and obviously less movement, and the
With
theory
the power
was
chords.
the power chords.
They had said that, you know, Sabbath were the godfathers of heavy metal. That's where it started.
That's where, and then tinkered ever so slightly. And
yeah, if it wasn't for Ozzy and it wasn't for Tommy Iommi and all of that crack, then
so they say. But yeah, if you're
wouldn't
interested in
have-
podcasts, check that one out with Blind Boy. It's very good.
well, that's enough rambling.
Yeah.
We are sorry. I hope that you're happy enough because I'm happy to chat about that crack. But there's plenty of ideas off the back of that as well.
Yeah.
But Number of the Beast was released on the 22nd of March 1982.
Third studio album, yeah.
4.5 years before you hit the world.
I was doing the backstroke,
Oh,
swimming around,
you were getting ready.
good and warm.
Everyone else was getting ready for you.
Yeah, no. It
So it
was,
was the
yeah, go
first
for it.
album to feature Bruce Dickinson on vocals and the last album to feature Clive Burr on the drums.
That's right.
And that was something I didn't know until you told me during the week.
Well,
I always thought Number of the Beast was Nico's first album and clearly didn't read into it too deeply when I was a kid. But fuck me, the drums on that album are brilliant.
I says to you remember you said to me a while ago about a rhythm section to die for. Who was that? Was it Grohl and who did you say before not too long ago?
Oh, probably John Paul Jones and John Bonham.
I think it might have been an album we covered.
It probably was.
Yeah,
Or no, it was Tim Comerford and Brad Wilk.
Rage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Audio Slave.
This,
Well, no.
I think the bass player Steve Harris is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he's fucking class, isn't he?
He holds the whole thing. Everything goes through him nearly more so. I know that's a mental statement to say when lead guitar, but you know the famous galloping of
For
Maiden.
sure, yeah, it's very much Steve's
And
signature.
his volume is very high in a lot of these tracks that we're going to talk about. Like
He's one of the main writers in the band
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
A visionary.
Yeah.
You know, Steve would always have the vision of
the melodies
how
and
he
everything.
wanted the songs to go. An interesting one for all yous out there. It's not featured on this album. It is featured on From Fear to Eternity, and it would have been one that my dad introduced me to. But there's a song called The Clansman, where Steve Harris has an absolutely incredible bass lick riff. And if you want to see some stellar bass playing, check that out.
We
I'm
got
sure
this.
you remember that as
Yeah,
well.
I remember
They
from
played
Belfast.
it, yeah.
They played it in
It
Belfast.
was unreal.
Self and Luke got to see them 2 years ago.
2, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Believe so.
Played up. That was the first and only time I got to see them.
Yeah, I'd seen them twice when I was younger.
Right.
With Dad, 2011 and 2012, or 2010 and 2011.
So this album was recorded by
Martin Birch was the producer, right?
that's right. Yeah, late Martin Birch. But it was Capitol Records and
Harvest and Capital.
Harvest wouldn't be a well
I've
known.
never heard of Harvest Records. That's one for me to check with the Encyclopedia of Record Labels, the one and only Evan Walsh.
So Martin Birch would have worked with other bands including Deep Purple, Black Sabbath and Fleetwood Mac.
No way.
Yeah, that's a mix. Black Sabbath, Fleetwood Mac and Iron Maiden.
And Deep Purple. I couldn't imagine Fleetwood Mac and Iron Maiden in the same conversation.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. But like, look at what do you call him? That done Dead Magnetic from Metallica.
Rick Rubin. Yeah, like everybody. Rick Rubin's worked with everyone. System of a Down, Slayer. Rap. He's worked with a lot of rap artists and pop artists too, right?
He's done a lot.
His podcasts are very interesting to listen to.
Yeah, very good. Number of the Beast was recorded at Battery Studios in Williamston in northwest London.
Okay, very good. The record was also released by EMI in the UK.
That's right.
And it was Iron Maiden's first UK number one in the album charts.
Okay.
And the first record to break onto the Billboard Top 200 in the US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was their first.
So
it was recorded at Battery Studios.
Yeah, other albums that were recorded there was Def Leppard's High and Dry and the Stone Roses debut studio album.
No way.
Yeah.
High and Dry was a good album by Def Leppard.
So it must be well enough known. God knows how many studios are in London. Do you know?
Do you ever wonder, does that come down to availability then? Who gets to record where?
I don't know. Like, we heard a story too from our good friend about Reload.
Yeah.
Where an artist might be just in a certain place at a certain time and they just have to drop something. We heard during the week that what was it off Reload that they recorded?
The Memory Remains.
Yeah,
I can't recall the female singer's name, but the lady who sang on that song was living in Ireland at the time, and Bob Rock had recommended James and Lars to reach out to her.
That bit, yeah.
I always thought that was creepy as fuck when I was a young fella.
Man, I used to listen to that album going to bed. I'd be like, skip.
The fucking the music video. Because remember, it was the swing.
It was creepy.
They were on the swing, and then she just stood there.
Yeah, it was quite creepy.
Like, and it was all black. You're like, that's the Sandman video used to freak me when I was younger as well.
I was too old for that.
Old man.
It's gone past it.
No.
Speaking of music videos, we were in another video.
We were. Yeah, we were in another video. We'll discuss that on the weekly news, or it'll be another topic to
sign up to our Patreon to get
and you'll get our weekly news.
We can't give it all for free.
Yeah.
What other crack have I got here? I have a bit of notes on the artwork if you want me to go in there.
Yeah, go into that, surely. No, I have another few bits. I actually have something to say about the recording of it.
Yeah, stay on the recording.
So, whether you've heard about that, but this is me trying to read my own writing, which is absolutely desperate. But it was Maiden's only album to include a songwriting credit for Clive Burr. And that was on the song Gangland.
Okay.
And it was the first album
flicker on there
to feature writing from guitarist Adrian Smith.
He got contributions as well.
Yeah. So Birch remarked also that he didn't think former vocalist Paul Di'Anno was capable of handling lead vocals on some of the complicated directions Steve Harris wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And Dickinson had a hand in writing many songs on the album. In particular, Children of the Dam, The Prisoner and Run to the Hills. But due to his previous band Samson being locked in contract battles, he couldn't be credited.
Did read that, yeah. And he a few recent interviews he kind of leaked it out that he had a lot to do with it.
He had a big hand in it.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
The band had 5 weeks to record the album, and Invaders was a rewrite of an earlier track called Invasion.
Yes.
Now, this is the thing about recording. There's a lot of reports of unexplained phenomena occurring during the sessions at Battery Studios when you mention that.
Yes.
And many music outlets have documented them, and among the stories, lights turning off and on by themselves, recording gear mysteriously breaking down, and the maddest one of them all, the climax of the whole lot,
the crash,
was Martin Birch's crash into a minibus full of nuns, and then the bill came to the number of the beast.
£666.
That's unreal. I wonder was that with VAT or that?
That was cash in hand. But it got, before we get into the artwork, like it got a lot of negative feedback.
Loads. Yeah, I have more notes about that. Like, isn't it crazy that, especially in the States,
big time in the States,
you know, there was a lot of religious groups that they used that as evidence to say Maiden were a satanic band.
Yeah, same with Slayer and all that crap.
That was it.
But you have to remember, look back in the early 80s, you know, the Mason-Dixon line across America. When you go below that line.
See, that's the funny thing. I wouldn't be so well versed in that history.
Yeah, like,
it was something I'd like to know more about.
Well, that was the civil, but I'm just mean them lower states. I'm talking about
the Bible Belt, as they call it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. When you go down there, look, we love all our listeners. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and we have listeners from all over, so I'm not insulting anyone, but that's just the way some people.
They're probably a little more traditional.
Very traditional.
Yeah.
Very traditional.
You know,
and I'm talking back in the 80s.
Back in the 80s, yeah, the world's come a long way since then too. But it was funny, like, I'd read a wee bit about that in different bits and pieces, but it was, what was it, we had said that, you know, it was great controversies in the US over all of that, and yet the track was inspired by a nightmare Steve Harris had.
Number of the Beast.
Yeah. After watching Damien the Omen 2 late at night.
Yes, I did read that.
Harris also cited Robert Burns' Tom O'Shanter as an influence for the lyrics.
Oh.
The book.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have some more interesting facts when we get to that track. But let's kick it off with the opening track, which I absolutely love. Take Your Head Off, Invaders.
Yeah, go on ahead.
Absolutely class.
Yeah. I mean, it sets the tone for the whole album. Bruce's almost like operatic kind of vocals, like theatre almost. It's a show.
I love when I listen to this album, especially it being his first. His vocals are flawless.
Yeah.
I mean flawless.
I never listened to much Samson. I don't know if he was at the same range with Samson.
I've never listened to them.
No.
From what I remember. I don't ever recall hearing them or sticking them on intentionally.
But it's very, very the whole, especially that song, is very theatrical. Remember we was talking about before, like Tin Lizzy, how it's you can imagine the jailbreak.
Yes, yeah.
You can imagine this,
the
Vikings coming in, and they're coming and everyone's running and there's a panic and
there's madness. It's mayhem.
Like there's, like, listen to that guitar. There's panic. There's discomfort. There's
the gallop.
Yeah, it's class song. It just, it probably wouldn't be one of my favourites, but it's definitely up there.
Do you know, Steve Harris had said in later years that
wee bit.
Do you think it's a bit loud?
Wee bit. There.
Steve Harris had said in later years that he didn't actually think this song should have made the cut for the album.
From the original one?
No, this song, he didn't think this was strong enough.
But remember it was called a different name.
It was called Invasion.
Was it slightly different?
I'm not too sure as I hadn't listened to it, but from what I had read, it was said that Invaders shouldn't have been the opening track. It wasn't strong enough.
When you think like Hallowed Be the Name was a gamble to put at the end.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
This is one of my favourite songs off the full album. And I'd known by reading a wee bit about it, it was inspired by 2 movies. So The Village of the Damned and The Children of the Damned. And they were adapted from the novel The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wadham.
Right.
And Dickinson has also mentioned that Children of the Damned was inspired by Black Sabbath's Children of the Sea. This is one of my favourite
Now
Iron Maiden songs.
the intro has controversy as well.
Really?
Yeah. Have you never heard this?
No.
Can you is it a pain?
Go back.
Just go back, and I just want the listeners to listen to the very start of it. Have you really not heard this?
No. The Who?
Especially this next bit. Wah, 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 wah. Unforgiven 2 by Metallica.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's identical.
Yeah, very, isn't it?
Very. But anyway, that's.
And if people made...
Oh, there is people that have... and some people say Cemetery Gates, the start of it. But I think that's a push. I definitely hear Unforgiven 2 in it.
Well, that...
And then wow. Yeah.
That's the same opener nearly as Sanitarium, for that solo.
Yeah.
Just...
But you know what I loved about this song? Well, one, Bruce is focused. Let the man speak for himself. And look, we got to see him late 2 years ago, and I'm not sure what age the man is, but
They're tipping 70.
He was still hitting the highs.
Yeah, and I love when he does the, scream for me.
Yeah.
And he was hitting those.
And even the newest album, he came out and they played that song.
Book of Souls, wasn't it?
No, it begins with an S. Is the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Japanese word, and
Shinjitsu
the whole set was like a Japanese house and all that.
Yeah.
But they are absolutely one of the best musicians this world has ever seen. I think they're few and far between. They're in that top.
Still have the program from when I went to see the Final Frontier World Tour 2010,
Wow.
2011.
Show them a go.
Yep. Went to see both dates, I believe.
Did you?
I think so.
Where did they play? Dublin.
July 30th. That was the O2 Dublin.
I was in America.
And then the Odyssey in Belfast on August 2011. So, the Friday the 30th of July 2010 is the day I got my first set of double bass drum pedals.
Wow.
And there were a set of DW8000s that were bought in X Music by my dad for my birthday.
That's a nice story.
Yeah. And then I'm still hammering away, huh?
I think at that tour I tried to get a ticket for Madison Square Garden. It was sold out, and me and my little ruler at the time, Keen, shout out there, Keno, he does listening in Canada. Yeah, I brought him up and I said to him, I'm going to Iron Maiden. You're not bringing him. He was only about, I don't know, 8.
Yeah.
And I said, look, it's sold out. I'm going to go up to the ticket office. You never know, there might be something. Nah, it was
nothing.
No. That was an indoor gig.
That was the same gig, I believe, when we spoke to Stuart Skelly, one of the only RD men to ring the bell on the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, he's not an RD man.
No, he's not, no.
He was an American.
Oh, was he American?
The boy that we met up at Slane.
We had met in Slane.
Oh, yeah, he was American.
Oh, that's how he ended up ringing the bell,
Yeah,
but came to live in Ireland.
He was only over on holiday that time.
What?
The guy that we chatted and
Oh,
stuff.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, anyway. That guy was telling us when he walked the streets of Madison Square from his job on the stock exchange, he bumped into Yannick and Adrian Smith.
That's right, he told
That
us
before that, and then got tickets to the gig. He was going to the show.
He got on the guest list or something.
Yeah, there was some old story about it, which was very cool.
Yeah, he was a nice lad.
Yeah, in his suit. Yeah. Had bumped into one of the lads, said they stopped to have a chat with him. He says, right, I'll see you at the show later.
But do you not remember someone in Belfast told us that they met Yannick or some of them walking in?
Yeah.
Jumped out of a taxi and just strolled in.
That was it, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Cool as fuck. Oh, there was this artwork note I wanted to shout out. As with all of the Maiden's albums during the 80s and 90s, the artwork was painted by Derek Riggs.
Yes.
The cover was originally created for the song, you were going to say this, Purgatory.
Yeah.
And
I actually thought it was for Prowler,
but manager Rod Smallwood deemed it too high of a caliber for the release.
Drum beat on this song.
For the release of a mere single. And
saved it for an album.
Saved it for the Number of the Beast. The original artwork includes a blue sky in the background.
Yes, instead of black.
Yeah, and a mistake by the printers of the cover. It was corrected back to black in 1998 for the compact disc release. Now, there's another thing I want to say about the artwork that has a very similar resemblance to a Metallica. We always relate everything back to Metallica.
Master of Puppets, with the puppets on the string.
With the strings
so
coming.
Saying Eddie is controlling.
Eddie has the...
Satan,
don't know if you can see there on the video on YouTube. He has the devil dangling from his fingers with the strings, the same way the puppet has, some resemblance. But he painted that.
Yeah.
He was
genius.
Unbelievable.
A genius.
Derek Riggs was quoted saying he got the image from a Doctor Strange comic book.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
did
familiar
read that.
with that. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out. Back to the songs, yeah.
Have you any more on that?
No.
You're happy enough with that one.
Basically, just some of the stuff. Yeah, it reached. Did you say it reached number 1 in the UK album charts?
Yeah, so it said.
And
33 in the US Billboard. Yeah. Top 100.
And it has sold a staggering 20 million copies worldwide.
Now, isn't that something else when you think of it, right? Love that chorus.
I love that. How many's even?
We had reviewed Blink 182's Enema of the State, and it had sold 15 million copies. And for this to sell 20 million copies. And then what did we say the colour and the shape had sold?
2?
2, but it collectively worldwide it was a wee bit more.
It's very hard to date them now because of all online streams and all that.
Yeah.
I've seen a recent one. I was actually talking with a mate at work, and he said that I think Michael Jackson's Thriller is still number 1, including online streams. But there's something random at 2.
Okay.
Not random,
but it's something like,
I thought the Black Album would be top 5.
You know the way they had said something before about Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
By that guy has some crazy amount of streams or sales as a single.
The Hawaiian guy. Yeah.
It holds some record that you would never think of it to be.
Yeah. I love the bass in that song. Remember, that's what I'm talking about with the bass being so prominent.
Yeah. To the forefront of the mix. No, it's class.
Playing with his fingers at that speed. Talk about Cliff Burton.
Used to love when he'd point the bass like a gun.
Still does it?
Yeah, at the end of the show. West Ham mental. Remember the West Ham bass?
Yeah. I think the notes that I have we kind of went over. Let me just see. Let's just talk about the songs. But my favourite song, as I said, was Hallowed Be the Name. But the more I listen to this album, there's certain spots in this album that has, like that bit there. There's just pockets of just jamming.
Oh, that's headbanging.
That's rocking and rolling there. That's rolling, we'll say.
That's good lifting weights music.
But then a song that I want to talk about is 22 Acacia Avenue.
Yeah.
What a song.
Charlotte the Harlot.
Charlotte the Harlot.
She must have been a good girl in her day.
She was a mythical prostitute from the 1800s.
Oh.
And she was mentioned in the first album. The debut album. She is mentioned in one of the songs. There's a lyric, Charlotte the Harlot. I don't know if it's an actual song.
Okay, or mentioned in it.
But I just love, that's what I'm talking about, like that song. I think it's almost 8 minutes long.
Yeah, it's very long.
And it has stages. It has, it has a bit of comedy to it.
The lyrics, plays on it.
It talks about basically this
and then there's
mythical.
a little bit of darkness at the
Yeah,
end of it.
yeah.
Some of the lyrics are
Look,
rather
I think
controversial, maybe for the time.
I think the band play to that. Like the band are all about all the
They're going to
songs.
make noise.
Yes, but it's all about
Stories.
war, barbaric,
Yeah.
raiding,
Yeah. Pillaging.
Yeah.
Everything that
Yeah,
comes along
invasions
with that.
and taking
Yeah,
land.
even, when you think of that one from Fear to It, remember Passchendaele?
Mm.
Had the really cool finger tapping intro. That was about invasions.
Yeah.
Taking the land.
Run to
The
the
Wicker
hills.
Man.
Run to the hills.
Blood Brothers, war.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a running free.
All of them are about that.
And then Fear of the Dark, or Hallowed Be the Name.
This is a brilliant song. I've been watching a few kind of stuff online and that, and people reviewing the album, and a lot of people skip over this song. I think it's class.
It's headbanging for a good time.
Down the east side.
50 quid.
15.
Oh, it's 15.
She's cheap.
Is she still about?
Syphilis go.
Oh, quit. Great track though.
It's very. I look at. You can take it with a pinch of salt. It's mythical. It's not as if it's about a real person. And I love the music. Never mind the lyrics. I think the music.
The music's brilliant.
The pockets in. It has almost 3 or 4 different songs in the song.
Yeah.
There's a certain part where that famous gallop from Iron Maiden, it just takes off. And it goes, and it goes, and it goes.
It's very hard not to move your head when listening to that.
It's absolutely brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's
I
a great
remember,
tune.
I don't know if I told you this, at that Maiden gig in Belfast, I text me neighbour, and I said, just at this bit here, I said, I'm just at Maiden, first time ever. And I hadn't spoke to him in years. I
That
said,
bit on the drums. This
that's
year.
what I mean, like, it's completely different tempo and everything to the start. But anyway, I thanked him for
Sorry.
getting into the music, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'm delighted you're getting to see them. Because I used to go to his house and listen to that Hallowed Be Thy Name over and over and over. And it was him that put me in the direction. So shout out to Robbie Dorrigan. And yeah, I love this fucking song.
Insanely fast right hand part. The right. It's ridiculously fast.
That's brilliant. I'm just sorry you stopped talking now, just listening to it.
Yeah.
Then the next song, Number the Beast. What a tune.
Well, I cut it.
Yeah. The most iconic bit of note that I have on it is about the scream. You know the iconic scream in this song?
Yeah.
It was, I think it was the last take that they done.
And he just went for it.
He was like, again, and I got to about 2 or 3 in the morning, and Dickinson just let rip.
He roared.
And he goes, yep, that's it. You can go home now.
No way.
Dickens was just, got him to a point where his blood was boiling.
He was ready to go off the head.
Yeah.
Well, as we had said earlier about the track came from, or the influence of the track was from a nightmare that Steve Harris had.
Yeah.
And also from that book by Robert Burns, Tom O'Shanter. And the other thing was that the track opens with spoken word from the Book of Revelations,
Yes.
read by actor Barry Clayton.
Yes.
Now the liner notes say that the passage is from Revelations 13:18, yet the opening line comes from 12:12. Do you know the other crack behind it?
No.
Now I didn't make a note of who the actor was. Someone Price was his second name, but they had originally wanted a guy to read that, and he wanted £25,000 to read it, and the band had said, look,
It's the scream. Just fill the lungs. Keeps going. Night was black. Sorry, Luke.
No, but that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had said, fuck that for a game of golf. We ain't paying anyone 25 grand to do a bit of spoken
So
word.
the actor done it.
Yeah, the other guy done it. I don't know what his fee was, but I presume it was a lot more lenient than that.
It sets the tone, isn't it? It's quite scary too, isn't it?
The song,
No, the guy
the
that
spoken word.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think
they've done that in a few songs.
I was probably introduced to Iron Maiden more through the live album
right.
and bits and pieces, so I was maybe used to hearing Churchill's speech off the top of that. So I thought that was very similar. I knew it was darker, it was eerier, but I never really paid
Churchill
attention.
does it for
It was just their speech, I think, was the
no,
opening.
you know the song that they finish with on the set. Churchill speaks.
Yes, yeah, for Aces High.
Aces High, yeah.
Yeah.
But even like The Prisoner, they done that from the TV show, and
Okay.
that was a TV show back in the day. You know, I'm not a number, and they're like, you
Yes,
are a number.
you're
That
number
was
6.
yeah, that was from a TV show,
Okay.
and I think they've done that in a few
They
songs.
must have watched it.
Yeah, but they've done that throughout other albums.
Yeah.
But the guitar is class.
Solo. I love the way it breaks down after this solo. You know, the did before the second bit.
Dave Murray. He hasn't changed.
Not a bit. Say he drank this bit.
Fingers flapping. It's
I'd say Dave Murray was some by the sup pints in his day.
I'd say what point would you say he has?
Oh, I'd say he loved a good lager.
I'd say he take the early bitter.
You reckon?
Good bitter.
I'd say he would have drank a pint of Harp or something like that.
Snakebite.
What was that?
Oh, you're too young.
Snakebite.
That was cider and lager mixed together.
No way.
It was banned. It drove people mental. Did you never hear that one? No.
No.
Snakebite, yeah. It was lager and cider.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever drink it?
Of course it is.
Drove you haywire.
No, I
I'd
think
say
it
you'd
was
be sick. Couldn't imagine it was nice.
lovely.
Was it?
Yeah.
We'll have to make a pint of it here.
Few, can of Bulmers and a can of like Carlsberg or Heineken or something.
Half and half.
We used to get in draft.
Right.
Yeah. But
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
yeah.
I actually think Dave Murray might have been more like a Smithwick's man.
Smithwick's and 20 Cals.
Yeah. I'd say Adrian Smith was like a Heineken man. Steve Harris would probably drink a bucket of Heineken.
What's the current lineup right now? Well, Nico's gone. Well, they haven't toured since.
Is Nico's still, or is he gone?
I think there was talk that he kind of
He's sick.
said, I'm
out.
done.
Yeah. Don't know.
But Bruce is there. Dave Murray's there.
Yannick's there, Adrian's there, Steve's there. And it was Nico. That was it.
Yeah, so there's 3 guitarists now.
Yeah. Brought in Yannick out.
That
Yeah.
helped the boys out.
Yeah.
When did he come in?
Oh, I think in the 90s, sometime late 90s maybe, yeah.
Where's
Could
he
be.
from? Scandinavia.
I think he's from Denmark, but I
Yeah.
could be wrong. Somebody will correct me on that one.
Yeah. This is a great tune too. I talk about theatrical song again. I know I'm repeating myself, but we've all probably seen that video of Run to the Hills. And
I was taught those power chords when I was a young fella at 8 or 9, just after I had learned to play guitar. The do. I must have sickened everyone in the house playing it for about 6 or 8 weeks.
that is just that. Like, in fairness, the lyrics are quite harsh too about Native Americans and that. Like, you can see why there was controversy in America when it was released. But look, we didn't write them. We're only listening. But I love it.
Oh, great album. Absolutely class album. Yeah, brilliant.
The only one I'd say that is a skip for me. Now I
It's
know.
Gangland. Yeah. And did you know the crack about Gangland?
Tell me the crack.
So Run to the Hills was a single,
Yes.
and they had to have a B-side on the single. So the B-side that they chose was a track called Total Eclipse.
Okay.
Now, the choice for the B-side was Gangland or Total Eclipse. And they chose Total Eclipse hastily, is what the band had said. And Steve Harris had also said that they should have chose Gangland to be the B-side of the single, and Total Eclipse should have went on the album. And it actually replaces Gangland on the 40th anniversary edition.
Does it?
Yeah. So Gangland doesn't make the cut for the 40th anniversary. They put Total Eclipse on it because that's what they wanted. But they had written too much material. It all couldn't make the album, so they decided to put that. Listen.
I'm just listening to that there. What guitar does Harris use? Fender? Here he is, the Lord.
This.
Prince of Darkness.
Some vocal
Speed
like
of that.
scream.
A man of many talents, flying planes.
What did Steve Harris play?
No,
Or, Adrian Smith or Dave Murray?
Dave Murray.
They usually played a Fender Strat, yeah.
And
He
Adrian.
used a Les Paul a lot of the time, or a Fender Strat. Sometimes they use a Jackson. Adrian Smith used a Jackson.
I always
later years.
remember, I think, Murray using the Fender in all the videos.
Yeah, he had a black Fender with a white scratch plate
yes.
and black pickups, which
Yes.
was really cool.
Yes, I do remember that. I think in Run to the Hills.
Jeez, he was some man to play the guitar.
And he was a big man. Big fingers.
Yeah,
big
man,
hands.
wasn't he? Yeah.
It's not as if he was messy.
No.
Um,
No, he had no fish fingers. He didn't miss.
skip around there to the best song on the album.
Yeah, we'll leave Gangland alone.
It's just a masterpiece. Hallowed be thy name. It's the end of Gangland.
It is, yeah. It was fairly good too. It just felt a wee bit rushed.
Bit
Very trashy.
Yeah. Bit repetitive or something. But I'll never forget the first time I heard this song. I'd love to know where the intro came from. You know, with the bell and... It was probably Harris that wrote this. Or maybe Bruce did.
Surprised, yeah. Sounds like Bruce might have had a hand in writing it, but how much of a justice he does it.
One of our friends that's been on the podcast did an awfully great number singing this and drumming. Nigel Connell, an absolute beast, drummed this song and sang it, and he could hold this note. You know this note here? Oh man.
For me.
I don't even need to say anything about this song. This song speaks for itself. You don't need me to rap it on. It's class.
It's just unreal. If any of you have been lucky enough to see Iron Maiden live, then this song has been a staple in the set for all but 3 tours, I believe, from what I've read. And this is like poetry in motion. This is like watching a film on stage happening right in front of your eyes. It's like you're watching a movie on the television. The lights, Bruce's theatrics, his acting, just everything. This also reminds me of, this would be on the level for me of The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So you remember when he'd do that song? Unbelievable as well.
It's been covered a lot too.
Yeah.
Machine Head.
Yeah.
Who else covered it? There was someone else. We heard Machine Head play it in Dublin, I think. Didn't they play it that night?
They did play a wee bit of it. I don't think they played all of it. They played the intro.
There's someone else. There was loads of bands covered it. But
we have to do Power Slave, and we have to do Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. That's another album I love.
If you're enjoying these, make sure to give us a few recommendations. Maybe you'd like us to do
give
another
us a
one.
few recommendations. Please check out our Patreon.
Yeah.
You will be able to be in with a chance to win a copy of this on vinyl if you subscribe to our Patreon at a tenner a month. Top of the package.
Yeah, our Patreon is available in our bio. If you go into our Instagram page and the top link on the link tree,
it's the Patreon.
Is the Patreon. What the Patreon is, for some people that don't know, it's a way of supporting the podcast.
It's money for cigarettes for us too, actually. That's what it's not.
It's a way to support the podcast. So what we're asking is, there's 3 options. There's €2 a month, €5 a month, or €10 a month. €2 just is a nice contribution to keeping the podcast going.
Buy us an ice cream.
€5 is you get a discount on merchandise. You get early access to episodes.
That's if you feel like buying us an ice cream each.
10 is fuck you, you're mouthing there, putting me out.
10 is all of the above, but you get 10% off merchandise.
Yes.
And you are entered with the chance to win.
That's the gold package. So if you're on a €10
every month, and you also get early access, if we said, and you get the show notes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
It's a tenner a month, and you're in a limited group of people to win. As Luke said, vinyls. We might have tickets down the lane. We could have all different things.
You get an exclusive episode every week as well.
Yes, there's a Patreon's only episode, and we're getting great feedback on that, Luke.
Which is great crack.
Yeah, so...
And we'll talk about what we were going to chat about earlier in the news of the week.
Yes, but again, just before we leave the Patreon, is that all money into the Patreon is going to go back to you, the listener. We want to update our equipment. We want to be able to buy stuff to give back to you. We're not looking for a payday.
It's giveaways.
We just want to...
Making this more of a community.
Making it a community and bettering it for you and us, so everything goes out better. And that's our album review of the week. We want to give a shout out to Defy Sports, our sponsor of this season's podcast. If you're looking for any sport or leisure wear, check out defy.ie.
Check out the vintage GAA jerseys.
Yeah.
Absolutely class.
I actually was listening to Dave Moore, our old buddy, today.
Yeah, did you see that crack?
Did you hear him about the vintage jersey and everyone writing in that the retro jerseys are in? Defy.ie for all your retro jerseys. I don't know if they found out whose jersey that was.
I'm trying to think, because I would have looked through a lot of those books as a kid, but Danone sponsored someone big. Like, I don't think they sponsored, a Carrick Emmets or a Shercock or an RD St Mary's. I believe it would have been like either like Sligo, or they could have.
Did you hear it today?
No, who was it?
No, yeah, you heard him mention.
I saw it on Instagram. I was listening to it, or hear it. I should say.
I thought, sorry, you might know what we're on about. So, somebody rang into Dave Moore today, and there was a picture of Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's daughter. She was wearing an O'Neill's. They looked like a soccer jersey.
It looked like Sligo Town or Sligo Rovers or something.
And there was a big scavenger hunt to find out which jersey.
And it was an old school one because it had the collar.
But do you remember they went on the honeymoon to
Wicklow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe it was somewhere. Was it not more Midlands they went?
No.
Laois. It was Port Laois.
It was Port Laois. Sorry, I thought it was Wicklow. No, it was Port Laois.
Yeah, so I was thinking, it has to be something down there.
You could have been. But then again, like, Northwest would have been 3 or 4 at that stage. Yeah. But that's where they go back to. Yeah. Supposedly they go back to Port Laois to Fulham.
They didn't buy a Number the Beast album anyway.
Maybe they'll subscribe to our Patreon.
You never know.
We'll review Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. We both loved that one.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one for us on graduation.
Again, if you're enjoying the podcast, shoot us a message in the comments on Spotify. You're listening on Spotify.
Tag Kanye West in the comments. And tell him to come on with 2 Irish buckles.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That really helps us. And leave us a comment on how you think we did on our album review, or any future albums that you'd like us to take a look at.
What pint do you think Kanye drink?
Fucking petrol, I'd say, at this stage.
No. What do you think he'd drink? But I'd say he might be partial to a snake bite.
Henny and Coke.
Yeah, no, but a pint.
A pint of it.
Yeah, he probably would drink a pint of it, yeah.
There was a doorman that used to work in the pub I walked in, and he drank a pint of Hennessy and Coke.
Raw man.
Out of a straw.
Raw man.
And him walking.
Oh, now. Boys, come on. Come on.
Money carding you.
I'd say he'd drink a pint of stout
Now here.
and a hot whiskey.
Hot whiskey would be nice that night.
It would, wouldn't it?
How she fluck.
On a fluck.
Koboshti. Come here. That's it for this week's episode. We're rambling. We hope you enjoyed it and we'll check you next week.
Good night and God bless.
Adios.